Everybody to the January 4th meeting of the Budget Finance and Investment Committee. I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year. And welcome back. I hope everybody got a chance to review the minutes that were sent out from the December 7th meeting, and if so, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make the motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Allen, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Investment report, Mr. Beatty. It's been busy in your office the last at least last week.
It has. The tax law changes. We're always kind of busy at the end of the calendar year, really busy at the end of February, but we got really slammed at the end of the calendar year. But it worked fine. We're still working through some mail, but that all worked good. We did not have any bids this last month. Our LGIP rate jumped to 118, so that makes our rate 144. So that made our decision not to lock in for a year last month the right one, looks like. So, but we thought that was coming. That was not. They're not coming to the mountain to get advice. It was not rocket science, but it just worked out.
I got it.
Make a motion to approve the investment report.
So,
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Peay, any further questions, Mr. Beatty?
Yeah, looking good downstairs.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Beatty.
Thank
Go back to opening mail now.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
The fun.
Fund condition report, Ms. Nolan.
Okay, in December, that we received $128,250 for development tax, brings our total for the year $2,197,500. Reminder, we budgeted $3 million. On our cash balance report, our cash at the end of December was $334,423,000, with $228,809,000 being operating funds, $105,614,000 being borrowed funds. And speaking to the revenue, just some items of note that I didn't talk about. I mean, some of the things that we talked about last time carry forward into this year. One of the things that we will see amendments toward the end of the years, but what I already know now is when the circuit court clerk is up and running with her new systems, and each of the revenues coming over there had to be coded. And looking at the background, there are some litigation tax, there's some litigation tax, that was going to debt service, and then there's others that I can't find a source in where it was identified as having to go to debt service, so it's being accounted for in the general fund. That's just one thing. It's not a huge amount, but I just noticed it's going to be money that we're going to have to adjust out. I told you about the prisoner board being behind. They've caught up through July. But these things should be rolling in. I mean, that between both our part and their part, that's coming in. We had 3 months worth of payments come in December. Let's see. The other things I think we've already talked about. The one thing that we didn't talk about last time was in the highway fund, their money's coming in. It's just, why is it so much more? But they did get state aid for some of their roads, and that has come in. And all of them, all the revenues to date compared to the last 5 years, they are within range. None that I'm terribly concerned about at this point.
since you mentioned the road board and that money that they got, that won't affect our maintenance of Bedford, will it?
No, we look at local to local. The other thing, sales tax, and I have put this on the sheet to just kind of be watching. Sales tax, when I talk about the county-wide, it's, half of all the local goes to education, and we budgeted that at 5% increase. With 5 months reporting, we're at 4.3% collected. I mean, higher than what we were last year. So that's the really only area that it's like we're watching that one.
I don't know if this is the appropriate place or not, but can you expound on the fees we talked about last month for the TennCare? That
Yes.
we only paid a third of, and what that
Right.
came back to be? Because I know you told a couple of us, at least over here last night for the steering committee, but we have good news on that
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't want to steal Mike's thunder.
Well,
but it
that
was-
part of that report, all right, we'll get that from Mr. Nolly then, all right?
It's good.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you just had we were covering at that point or this point, but. Any questions, Ms. Nolan, on fund condition report?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Pede.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Got the risk management financial report. Ms. Street, welcome.
Are you okay?
Fine, how about
I'm
yourself?
doing well. Okay, we'll start with Fund 264. In the month of December, we ended with revenues at $6,023,000 and expenses at $5.7 million, with a difference by month of $316,000 and a calendar fiscal year difference down a negative $946,000. When you look at prior period, we had revenue at $62.1 million, with current being $66.4 million. Expenses came in prior period at $66.7, with current coming in at $67.3. On the fiscal period review, revenue came in on prior at $26.3, with current being $27.4, and expenses came in on prior period of $33.8, with current being $33.1 million. When you look at the last page from a 2017 calendar year revenue versus expense, we ended it with a negative $946,000, and on the fiscal year, we're currently down $5.6 million. In Fund 266, in the month of December, we're at $520,000 compared to prior of $348,000. And our legal expenses for the month of December for Hudson Reed and McCreary came in at $44,463 compared to prior of $88,455.
Any questions of Melissa?
We used to see every month where we stood on, okay, I want to say the revenues, well, what we're going to have to pay out for, was it retiree type thing and that, and there for a while, it seemed like it was going up.
Yeah, so on the third page of the 264 report, you'll see the very last
The
bottom section, the net OPEB, and that is what you used to see on the second page of the financial report. So that gives you the number. And I'll get updated information and add that to the...
I need to get it to you because I
Yeah.
got the audit now.
Yeah, right, it's normally after the first of the year that I add the information, so I knew it would be available anytime. And then, once I get that from Ms. Nolan, I'll add it each year to the report.
You should like to keep that in fine print, because that's a pretty depressing number.
I can make it bigger if you want me to.
Yeah.
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer, any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thanks, Melissa.
All right.
You have a good evening. Got a Homeland Security grant and related general fund budget amendment. Mr. Cass, how are you tonight?
Yes, great. What I'm asking y'all to do is allow this to go forward and be voted on by the entire commission so the mayor can sign the contract and also the related budget amendment is in there as well. Basically, it's an annual Homeland Security grant. We're part of District 5, which is us and 6 other counties. In the past year, for this particular year, there was $692,000 to divvy up between projects. We got funded 8 of our projects, and when I say we, I mean the county as a whole. Some of the projects are for Laverne and Smyrna. I don't think Murfreesboro had any this year. But there's 8 different projects on there. Some of it's equipment. They're all approved. And like I said, we got our fair share of it this year. And that's all I'm asking for is to move this forward so we can start distributing the money.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner P. Further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bob?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Got a PetSmart grant related general fund budget amendment for Paul. And
And I'll take
you're
care of
handling
that.
that for Mr. Gregory tonight.
Yes, yes. The grant was for $27,500 from PetSmart Charities, and it's to purchase surgical and operational equipment and supplies to expand the surgical suite at the Paul. And their purpose was to, let's see, with a goal of increasing an additional 5,000 free surgeries. That's what that is for. And the request is to use $4,000 from their contributions, plus that grant to improve the building with $10,000 and other equipment, $21,500.
Any questions of the surrogate, Mr. Gregory, tonight?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. P. Commissioner Schaefer, I believe that was.
And that's accepting the grant and the amendment.
And for whoever the appropriate person is to sign everything and such as that, I take it. Any questions or discussion? Not, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bob?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, the-
General fund budget transfer for Paul.
Right, this is within his department. The first is to request $10,000 from attendance to cover overtime. He's got folks out on FMLA and other vacancies. The second one is to use funds to help offset the cost of roof repairs. And that's moving $1,000 out of other contracted services and $1,640 from other equipment to move into maintenance and repair of buildings of $2,640.
I guess I've been here too long, but I still feel like that ought to be a fairly new building and we're already doing roof repairs. But
What kind of roof do we have on that? Is it metal?
No, it's a regular shingle roof. It's 12 years old because it was just opened before I got here. So
12 years isn't very old, even for a shingle roof.
We've had several hailstorms come through those, kind of wear them out.
That, we've had issues with that building, heat and air and different things since it's been built, ventilation, but anyway, it is what it is. What are the wishes of the committee? Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. No further discussion, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bob?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've got a general fund budget amendment, for fire and rescue. Captain Sloan, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Welcome, how are you tonight?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. We've got a couple of things tonight. The first is a general budget amendment. We surplused a couple of our older fire trucks and sold them to the Lincoln County Fire Department for $20,000 for both of them. And we'd like to take that money from the sale of that equipment and put it in our part-time personnel line item. Help pay to cover when career staff's off for vacations and other things.
That's no, do we want to take these separate or?
Finish my note.
What trucks were those?
The one was the Almavel 01 pumper, and the other one was the Fosterville Midland 01 pumper.
Were any of those still in service?
You want to separate them?
They were in service, they were replaced with other apparatus when we went through the
I'm
apparatus.
saying, are
replacement
there
program.
any more still out there? in
We have
service?
one, the old Rockville 01 pumper, and Eagleville's 01 pumper. And they are both scheduled to be replaced this coming year, the next budget year, through the apparatus replacement program.
If there's no further questions on this one, we'll take both these amendments at once.
Okay, on the,
And
yeah. Did he talk about the
we haven't
second?
talked about the second one yet.
Okay.
Okay. So you gonna go with the second one?
Yeah, go on the second one. I think she's gonna make some changes after you get through explaining.
Okay. The second budget amendment is, the mayor's gracious enough to give us $25,000 to put into our other equipment budget for the purpose of purchasing air bottles, air cylinders for self-contained breathing apparatus for some of the volunteer departments. Their equipment is
Out of
just
date.
I was trying to figure out the nice way to say it. It's rapidly becoming obsolete. And they have air bottles that cannot be refilled anymore because they can't be tested any longer. They're deteriorating to the point that they've outgrown their life. And so we're going to try to replace several of those through this.
How many are you able to replace with that amount of money?
Let's see, I wrote that down. They're, wrote it down somewhere.
Of course, this is just part of the money. They also
Yes,
have
sir.
some money in their own budget already.
Correct.
And we're going to have more in next year's budget as well. This is not nearly taking care of what we need in total.
These 40-minute fiberglass bottles?
There are 30-minute fiberglass bottles. The volunteer departments have 30-minute, have the old 2216 PSI, and if I'm talking over your head, I apologize. They work at 2,200 pounds per square inch, whereas the ones that we have that were bought in 2009 were 4,500 PSI. So the 2,200 PSI is only allowed to be filled to 30 minutes duration. And to answer your question, that'll allow us to buy 35 bottles.
Thank you.
And I would like to make a change to this. Taking $25,000 out of the mayor's budget will leave him only $1,000 to take care of us from now to the end of the year. So I would recommend only half coming from there and the other half from fund balance, assigned fund balance.
We could always move it back out of their account later in the year if we had to.
Not there, they wouldn't have any, but I mean,
I mean, if we don't do this, I would
I
have.
haven't spent it, that we allowed other departments that needed it to spend it.
So it's just, that's too tight between now and end of year.
Well, this isn't for a frivolous thing. We've got to take care of our firefighters, and the volunteers are out there volunteering their time and risking their life. We want to make sure they have the appropriate equipment, at least as far as I'm concerned. I would hope we would make it a priority to get the rest of these tanks replaced at least in the upcoming budget year, and so we don't have somebody out there maybe have a life safety issue or something
So
like that.
what is it you are suggesting?
To only take half,
12.5 out of.
12,500 out of
From
the
the
mayor's
mayor's.
budget, and then half out of unassigned fund balance. Did not draw that mayor's budget down to where, I mean, there's always, there's a half a year.
I'll make a motion that we take the 25,000 out of unfunded, leave the mayor's budget alone. We'll let him help somebody else.
I'm
Okay, thank you.
I'm agreeing with that too.
Well, the reason I say that, and I'll air that out for a minute, a lot of people don't know how generous the mayor has been working with people in this county. And, you know, if you ask around a little bit, I think you might be surprised. But anyway, that's why I'm doing this. Thank you.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second, and I'm not surprised, and I think not to get off into the weeds here, but I think a lot of the mayor's generosity comes out of his own pocket when you get downstairs sometimes and stuff,
It
you
is,
know,
yeah.
and not out of these funds whatsoever. But anyway, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Question on what we're going to hear from the ambulance, EMS, on the money back from Medicaid.
It's
Where does it
very,
go?
very positive.
It got ambulance
Ambulance,
fund.
they're gonna report to you in just a moment.
That's what I-
Yes.
Does it go to their fund or
Yes.
general fund? for
Theirs.
everybody?
They're
Theirs.
coming up in the extra minute.
As far as this issue, and this is both, the motion was to cover both amendments, I take it. Any other discussion or questions? Not, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain. You have a good evening.
You too.
We got our ambulance fund budget amendment. Mr. Nunley. Welcome, how are you tonight? Good, how are you? Fine, thank you.
Recall that last month we came and asked you to fund some money for an assessment that was made by the state of Tennessee for Medicaid 10-care transporters. And you funded 1/4 of it, which was $46,600. And I'm here tonight to ask you for the remainder, which is $93,150. But I also want to tell you that by the end of the year, our collections off of that account were $133,421. So we've still got collections to come. Looks like that it's going to do what they said it was going to do. That money essentially goes into a fund that the state uses to leverage federal monies 2-for-1, much like the nursing homes used to do. And anyway, we're only $6,329 shy of what our investment would be for the whole year. We still have 2 more quarters to collect.
Did we actually collect 2 quarters already, Mike?
We
what I want
collected
is-
1/4.
1/4. Yeah,
It was
one-
like $133,000.
Well, that means we got 3 more quarters to go.
Well,
When I was
Two-
school,
two in
there were
this fiscal
4
year.
quarters.
but in the fiscal year, there's only 3 fiscal years left.
This
A 3
time.
fiscal
They're
periods.
not quarters, they're periods.
Fiscal
Didn't
periods.
start till the 1st of October.
Quarterly
Yeah.
periods.
This is the new math, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
3 quarters left.
We might mention to you that that legislation is set to expire at the end of June, so in order for it to continue, they'll have to renew it, which I suspect they will.
We met with our legislators last night. They may have been a little late on that one. Hopefully, they aren't getting any backlash. If they were able to turn $1 into $2 from federal funds, I would think all the counties would be behind extending that, so.
And roughly turned one of our dollars and gave us 2 back.
yeah. Sometimes there is a method to the madness.
Well, that's why it wasn't brought up last night, so.
So the 93,000 that's here pays through
2 more, yeah, to end of June.
June 30.
through the fiscal year.
2 more
Okay.
quarters.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner P. Further questions or discussion? Not, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum? Yes. Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've got a general fund building amendment for building purchase.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening.
And if we could, we'd like for Mr. Trey King to come up here with us on this particular request.
Welcome, Trey.
We've had under discussion for some time, as you well know, something we sort of calling the repurposing of our buildings that are going to be vacated at some point with the construction of the new judicial building. But in any event, we haven't fully completed that study by any means. But the only thing that's pretty obvious that there's sort of a reasonable consensus on is that what Mr. King is doing in our recovery courts, he's getting several grants that have included some additional people. We just don't have room for these folks to properly function, you might say. So the Property Management Committee they gave us a bit of authority for me to offer up to $1 million for a piece of property on 525, I think, North University Street. A building of about 10,000 square feet on about, I think it's about 1.18 acres. And it's previously was a medical office building. It meets our needs very, very well. It's been kept in really good condition. We'll have to spend a few dollars to do a few little cosmetic things and a few little things as far as putting some ADA door accesses, etc., but it's not going to be a substantial amount of money. All right, they gave me the authority to offer $1 million, subject to full commission approval at some point. Well, it's been going on a few months. They've had this priced at $1,365,000, and after some direct communications with the owner, I've got them down to $1.1 million. And we still think it's a really good purchase. I don't think we're going to beat that price. And it was appraised in 2012 for that amount of money, $1,365,000. And it might even be appraised higher than that now. But he sort of he believes in what we're trying to use this building for. And is in the medical arena of what we're doing to largely in trying to help these people recover. So that's where we are. Typically this would have gone to property management another time to move the 1 to 1.1 and then come here. But he's anxious for us to set some real course of action here, and we think it's timely for us to maybe go ahead and move forward. I have talked individually to the property management people, and they consented to let it come straight on to here. They still affirm that they would be willing to do that had it come before them first. So here's where we are. So just to sort of expedite this process, the only real thing that's sort of outstanding is a phase 1 environmental study that we have to do on all the properties we buy. That'll take us, it may take less than 30 days because nothing has ever been on that property that we know of except that building and residences prior to that. So with that being said, we could actually get final commission approval maybe at the February commission meeting, and that would sort of fit into the time frame that we've been having these discussions with the owner.
How will this affect his current situation as far as building space goes?
Mr. King, he will vacate where he's located in the old health department. Yes, sir. All of his people, and he'll have room for some growth, no question about that. And I'm thinking as time moves on and all of you are hearing about the opioid crisis, I think it'll probably, somewhere along the way, he's going to have to expand into some other areas that maybe we haven't even properly identified yet, but it'll give us an opportunity to do some of that and continue to expand his programs and his 4 courts that he has in place even now.
And the 1.1 will cover closing costs, it'll cover everything.
Well, she's got $5,000 in here for some closing costs.
I've got
so.
5, and then there's about a 5 left over, so there's about 10,000 right there.
And what-
with this for closing.
And I'll still get the money you've left me in $599 will go for paying for the environmental study, okay?
So there you go.
Yeah, I'm glad, that's about $2,000 usually.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Further questions or discussion?
What will those rooms in the old health department then? You have
Well,
plans for them yet?
We not precisely, but we'll use that as we go forward. We'll just let for now, we'll let HR and the risk management people decide how much it is. We sort of have them cramped a little bit, so we'll let them sort of work on that a bit first.
Going to charge admission to watch it happen.
Are they in there calling for dibs on whatever? Well, this is over with a tape measure right now, probably. Got a motion and a second to approve. Now, you said we approve this in the February commission meeting.
Well, we're approving this now, I'll go
This will
ahead.
go to
and I
next
will-
week's commission, will it not?
Yeah, but
For the budget amendment.
for the budget amendment.
Yeah.
Then I'll have to do my Phase 1 environmental study, and we'll bring it for full commission approval after we get a negative
We-
report on
we-
that,
We
okay?
couldn't approve it contingent upon a
Well,
clean
yeah, we could, we haven't
phase
done that.
one? I
Well, you
mean, I
could.
don't know, if time is of the essence, I just
Well,
don't see
we can
why
do
we
that.
couldn't approve it next week's commission meeting
Contingent
contingent
upon
upon a
it.
clean
That's a little
Positive.
better, because if I get that done quicker than
Yeah.
30 days, then that would save that much time. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. But the motion is to approve and to send this on to the full commission. No further questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. King. You have a good evening. We've got an application for a home grant.
Are you doing this? Am I doing
Uh, you- Reba works for you, so we'll let you.
Okay, this is the home grant that we are requesting to apply, and we are hoping to, well, we're going to apply for $500,000, and this is to renovate, improve housing within the county.
How much did we spend last year?
Oh,
We
yeah.
got additional monies last
We
year,
got
didn't we,
500,
from somebody
and we got
else?
more
We got
than
some
that
more,
from
but it's
other
it's
entities.
been, it seems like it's been 3 years.
Right.
It takes
The
us a while
process.
for that 500 or whatever it was to be spent out and completed. We hadn't finished all of those yet. No.
But we have got enough applicants for the money, do we not? I mean,
Yeah,
I
we
would
think we
we're not
certainly
sending
would.
any money back, really.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Make a motion to approve it.
Thank you,
Request.
Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Jernigan. Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum? Yes. Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
I just like to say we don't give credit enough sometimes to our good folks we have working for us. Reba Carlton, who is a recent addition to her staff on this grant application thing, is just doing an outstanding job.
We stole her from the school board.
Any other business coming for us tonight?
One question.
Mr. Schaefer.
What, it's been public safety and steering, but about the circuit court judge, since it's going to at least cost us space, do we need to talk about that here?
The space,
Well, it's going to cost us for space too. It's a budgetary thing when we're using the judicial building for it, for the new circuit.
If there
court
is a
judge.
new circuit,
Court judge. I mean, yeah, they're going to.
That's what they're gonna requesting for.
Yeah. And so that's money. So does it got to go through this committee?
There's bound to be a fiscal note attached to it in one way or another.
I mean, we are making, it's pretty obvious now that we will be able to finish out a courtroom and chambers that were not in the budget, but we've saved enough money through this process that there will be another courtroom available over there for an additional trial court judge.
Of course, at this time, we're asking the legislature to give us the ability, we're not actually making, and we could always put the brakes on this at any time.
But
They could give us the ability, we could delay that if we
Well, now,
decided.
we're asking them to appoint the judge to
Oh, well, I
appoint
thought
that
they were
position.
asking us to give us the ability to have the election and create the judgeship.
It'll be,
That's not the way
that
it
state
works.
trial court judge will be in their court. If they decide they're going to appoint that person, then our responsibility right now, by precedent that's been set previously, our cost will be furnishing the space, and our cost will be furnishing the furniture. And then there's one law clerk that all of these state court trial judges have that we pay for. So that's the one person that you're going to have on staff is one additional member there.
So this will be an appointed position, not an elected
It'll
position?
be an elected position,
So it will be an elected position, so.
but I mean, it's,
would it be the first time it would be appointed?
I don't know how that works. See, they're all on
Mr.
the same.
Stevens last night said having this in time for the August election. I remember that being mentioned last night.
So the first term might be a shorter term, yeah.
But I was just thinking that we've got to, at some point in time, decide whether to pull the trigger, in my opinion, and actually move forward, but apparently, I don't know how that works
And
completely.
so for that law clerk, we could plan to put that in next year's budget. We've got time to plan for that position.
Yeah.
So we could put it in and then see when it gets filled. Well, we need it sooner than that, do you think?
Well, no, we don't need, it's not gonna be sooner than that.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll happen until he says like, that will be all those judges, to the state trial court judges on the same schedule as our general sessions people.
It's on the county's situation, and they got
That's,
Their term is longer, isn't
yeah.
it? They're
Oh, there are
8,
8-year terms on all of these
All of
folks.
them are 8 years.
and they just,
But they have to run in the general election.
So they're just
in
into the
August. They don't
4th year
run
of
in
the
November when the other
current term.
states-
So this might be a short 4-year term. But they would, if it follows our schedule, they'd have to be on the May primary.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're gonna get it through the legislature approved in time to put it on the next ballot.
It's not, that person will be appointed for close to 2 years then, right?
I don't know how it works. I hadn't read that statute.
I think that'd be the next election.
But it wouldn't be our appointment.
Yeah.
The state judges, the governor would appoint. If that's,
Yeah.
but all we've done is pretty much ask them to expedite the process and put the judge in place.
Anything else come for us tonight? Any more discussion on that? If not, we are adjourned. Everybody-